But I made so many mistakes from not stocking correctly, not staffing correctly. There is a strange framing in society about failing, but actually what we're talking about is just learning. I've always wanted to try and solve problems, and entrepreneurship gives you the ability to do that. You're always learning, you're always iterating. It's not failure, it's kind of stepping forward, isn't it? So yeah.
Did you think that entrepreneurship was a career or was it something that other people did? I'm always love to understand about that leap of faith versus was it completely naive? You just had self-confidence to move forward and have a go.
I mean, I was definitely naive, but first and foremost, I didn't go to uni. So I left home at 16 and went to college, went to a drama college, enjoyed it, realized it wasn't for me, and I think the entrepreneurial drive has always been in me from a very young age. My dad was very entrepreneurial, at a young point. I'd realized I needed to try and make it for myself. I think I've always been quite curious in nature, so I've always wanted to try and solve problems, and entrepreneurship gives you the ability to do that. Making the mistakes, what I would say is those early years of entrepreneurship. My first business was a import business, importing wines and selling them to trade. I was also had a bar hire business on the side of that where we were doing all the major festivals in the UK, did a few in Europe as well. And it was amazing. We were winning these contracts with pretty much no background or history, just a bit of sales nous. And, we managed to get into some amazing concerts. But I made so many mistakes from not stocking correctly, not staffing correctly, but that kind of learning journey was what I needed. It's the way that I prefer to learn. And actually, had I gone to university and tried to do a business course to teach me all of that, I feel like I would have had to go out and have those mistakes anyway. So I would have been 3 years behind where I was in many ways. So yeah, it worked well for me, and I'm sure for a lot of others as well.
I have a real issue with the word fail and failure in the
Mm.
sense of how it's used in startups, the whole notion of fail fast. For me, it sets the wrong tone that I repeat a lot is around thinking like a scientist, which is the hypothesis focused on here's what I want to do. Here are some options. I'm choosing option B. You go forward and it works or it doesn't work and you learn and then you keep going again, right? Failure feels finite. And it sounds like for you, you learned some tough lessons, but obviously by your success, what you did was take those lessons, put it back into a system that you then evolved and adapted over time to be better next time round. And you have to be pretty pragmatic and thick skinned to be able to be in the trenches and navigate those really intense, emotional and stressful situations. But if you don't look at it as a lesson, then you're perpetually going to be stressed and you're going to be really hard on yourself.
There is a strange framing in society about failing, but actually what we're talking about is just learning. It's all learning. When I look back on some of those experiences now, even experiences I'm having in my current business as well, where we're making mistakes on the daily and we're still figuring things out and we're thinking about what does our ideal customer look like. And I had two pitches earlier this week on Monday, which I wasn't happy with. And I thought I've fumbled them, I've ruined them. So you're always learning, you're always iterating. It's not failure, it's kind of stepping forward, isn't it? So yeah.
And people are more human than we give them credit for. And what I mean is, like, say, in a pitch situation, if you're fundraising, you treat a VC like it's the hand of God, so to speak, as far as if you don't do a perfect job and close this money that life's over in its current form. And it's easy to get caught up in that. But if you step outside and think about that person, they have LPs that are on their backs to make money for them. They have their own pressure and process and changes that they're going through. And trying to build a human relationship ultimately is what you're doing. If you can build trust, and you can build openness and vulnerability, then things will go wrong, sure. And you've got 22 years and you're openly talking about mistakes you're still making. But for me, they're the important lessons that you put back into the system and learn and get better next time with.
And everybody has those periods of self-doubt, right? And there's different forms of self-doubt, different ways that you kind of second guess yourself. And I think on those types of calls where there is a strange dynamic of almost like a power shift where the VC or the investor comes in and they're like, well, I've got something you want, so you need to work really, really hard. The irony is if you go into that and you level that playing field, bring that equilibrium in as quickly as possible by being bullish, being confident, you actually get more interest from that investor anyway. So there is yeah, it's about flipping the script quite often on these things and trying to ground yourself before going into those calls because actually they're looking for confidence. They're looking for people that can take this business all the way. And that's, that's not going to happen if you go in saying, please, sir, can I have some more?